Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, making our sustainable development goals SDGs more famous for action. I am your host, United Nations Mom, and I'm so glad you are here. Today's legacy would be to talk about the second sustainable development goal, the zero hunger goal. For you to grab your knowledge, discover your role, and do your action. Let me tell you something that most people that are aware of this goal, the problem they have is what we call the awareness action gap. It has become their major problem because they are aware of this goal. They know people are hungry, but they feel that the scale of the 2030 agenda to end hunger in all its form by 2030 around the world or around the earth is too big, is far-fetched. They may feel that it's for big organizations, big non-profits, or even for the government itself to sort out. But on the Legacy Podcast, we want to solve that awareness action gap. We want to solve that problem by making you recognize that while the goal is global, the solution is local. In fact, more than you think it is. For example, a student who chooses to reduce their food waste by donating it to an orphanage or someone on the street hungry or even their very own neighbor is literally on the path of fulfilling the zero hunger goal. You are literally the student is literally localizing the United Nations global blueprint about the zero hunger. When you hear about sustainability, you may want to think it's about a project you join somewhere, or like I've said, it's for big organizations or enterprises or even the government itself. No, it is the way you live. When you learn to start treating the sustainable development goals as being essential as the food you put in your mouth, you stop being a spectator of the future and start being its architect. Why should the Zero Hunger Sustainable Development Goal (SDGs) matter to you? See, the awareness action gap happens when you think hunger is only about lack of food in far-off places. In reality, zero hunger is about food security and sustainable agriculture. Let me let you know that why the zero hunger goal, why it is your business, regardless of what you do. The Sustainable Development Goal (SDGs) are often treated as like a to-do list for governments or big organizations or non-profits, but a list without a person is just a paper. The SDGs 2 Zero Hunger is the foundation of every other goal. See, you cannot build a business or pass your exam or even design a fashion brand or clothes on an empty stomach. You literally cannot do anything on an empty stomach or within a failing food system. Most people think of food as only a commodity, something you buy or eat and forget. On the Legacy Podcast, we teach you that food is infrastructure. Just as a city cannot run without electricity, a civilization cannot run without nutritional security. When SDGs 2, that's the zero hunger fails, the global gap widens. Students can't learn SDGs 4, that's the quality education, on an empty stomach. Workers lose productivity, that is SDGs 8, economic growth, good work and economic growth, on an empty stomach. Even our healthcare systems can collapse under the weight of diet-related diseases. we won't have even our good health and well-being. You see why SDGs 2 Zero Hunger is the foundation of every other goal. In fact, it is life itself. It is life itself. SDGs 2 Zero Hunger is the lead foundation. If it stays standing, all other SDGs they follow. Talk more of you, the most important figure in this whole scenario. That is, you are needed alive to even think of doing or achieving one or more SDGs. So literally, officially under the SDGs goal created by the United Nations, there are targets of what this goal is trying to achieve. Talking about under the Zero Hunger goal. This also applies to every other goal where they have their target. The United Nations or all nations came together, created this goal, like I've talked about in Legacy 1, and they also set targets of what these goals are trying to achieve, which you can also search or research about in the official SDGs page of the United Nations. For the Zero Hunger goal, I'll be running through them, these targets of the United Nations, to let you know what they mean simply. You can also visit the official SDGs website to read about them for yourself and see actions. I mean, how far the UN have gone on the global scale in trying to achieve the Zero Hunger. Target 2.1 is about universal access. This is moving on beyond charity. It demands a world where the vulnerable have safe nutrition and sufficient food all year round. That is you and I. It addresses the seasonal gap where some families eat well during harvest but starve during the lean or dry season. Target 2.2, much about ending malnutrition. This is about the first 1,000 days of a child. See, malnutrition is not just a physical state, it's a cognitive one, stunting are permanent scars on a child's future. By targeting adolescent girls and pregnant women, the United Nations is trying to break the intergenerational cycle of poverty. Target 2.3, the economic engine. Literally, this target addresses the scale problem where most of the world that are hungry are actually food producers. I mean, small scale farmers. See, we cannot end hunger without doubling the income of these producers. This requires more than just seeds. It requires land rights, financial services like loans, grants, and market access. If a farmer grows a surplus but has no road to get it to the market, the goal has failed. Imagine farming all year round. Then the time you are supposed to transport it to your consumers, so the road in which you are meant to transport those goods are either not good, blocked, or you can't access them for one reason or the other. It's literally a failed endeavor. So ensuring that situations like that don't even come up at all is very important in achieving the Zero Hunger. Target 2.4 is about resilient practices. As climate change brings flood, droughts, our farms must become shock-proof. That is, involves improving soil quality so it can hold more water and withstand extreme weather, or even using seeds that are drought resistant and stuff like that. Target 2.5 is about genetic diversity. This is the global seed bank. If you only grow one type of corn, we all starve. Only one type of food all year round, everywhere around the world, just one type of food. no diversity is almost a failure. So we must protect the wide varieties of our food, our seeds, and it's through their genetics to keep the genetic library open for future breeding. Then we have targets that are focused on investment, needing more money for rural infrastructure, good roads, irrigation, labs that are equipped with the latest technology equipment, which you can see in most developing nations or countries. Targets that include trade reform. This is about fairness. It calls for ending export subsidies that allows rich countries to literally dump cheap food on poor countries, destroying the local farming economies. This is one of the problems some developing countries or nations face, whereby they are based on importation of goods that are literally produced in that country by small scale farmers or even medium scale, even large scale farmers. If we have farmers producing that, why are we importing? And not only that, if we can mentor or teach or equip our people with the necessary skills, provide them with the necessary land to farm those products, why are we importing them? And it's so worse in developing countries where some governments rely on imported food, even something that can literally, even as simple as toothpicks, or they can literally decide to empower their people to do all this in their own very own country. But no, they end up importing those things from other countries. It's not a good way to help small scale farmers, or it's not even a good way for a developing country to develop. Importation of goods like that, especially in the aspect of agriculture or food that could have been produced in that same country, is very bad and unrecommended for a developing country. Another target of the UN is aiming to promote resilient practices in agriculture. For example, as climate change brings floods and droughts, our farms must become shock-proof. This involves improving soil quality so that it can hold more water and withstand extreme weather, or even developing using drought-resistant seeds. Another target of the United Nations aims to promote genetic diversity. This is more like a global seed bank, in the sense that we cannot be growing only one type of corn or one type of food. No, it's not possible. We should do everything possible to preserve our genetic diversity in our seeds. That is, making sure that we can grow as much variety of food as possible. You can't imagine having one type of food in every nation, in every country around the world. No. So this target aims to preserve our genetic diversity in seeds for our food, so that we can have so much options to choose from, and also end hunger all over the world. The target of the United Nations has also one that addresses investment problems, or calling for the need for money for rural infrastructure, building roads, opening irrigation systems, and advancing high technology labs, which you can see in most developing countries. There's also one for trade reform. This is about fairness. It calls for ending export subsidies that allow only rich countries to dump their cheap food on poor countries, which destroys local farming economies. And there is one for market stability. This targets price volatility. For example, when food prices jump 50% more in a week because of market speculations, people go very hungry, people die, people is a very unforeseen circumstance, and it might leave people devastated. So this target calls for transparency in food reserves to keep the prices stable all year round. The gap between your awareness and your action exists because you may see these targets as the United Nations business, but come look closer. If you are a banker, it's your call to create microloan products or in order to end the zero hunger. That is, your target may be to small-scale farmers or small-scale business enterprises. If you are a chef, your target will be to start to promote the use of diverse ingredients or different how they call it, menus of food. If you're a techie, your call will be to build better market information apps. Better market information apps that can help the fashion, personnel, farmer, name it, any field possible. So hear me on this. The zero hunger is not a far-fetched dream. It is a technical reality that requires me and you to fix the plumbing of our global society. From the soil to the seed to the school lunch, every link, every connection on this zero hunger chain matters. So I want you today to start treating this goal as being essential as the food you eat. You can move from being witnesses to hunger to being architects of abundance. Is this not so sweet to hear? Yes, you can make it happen. And moving on in this legacy podcast, I am going to be letting you know both short-term actions, long-term actions you can do regardless of your field or your profession or whatever your passion is or whoever you are. You can be part of achieving this zero hunger goal. For example, the fashion student, see, agriculture produces your cotton, your silk, your lining. When food systems fail, the land is diverted and the cost of textiles can skyrocket. I'm sure you don't want that. And it may even impact your enthusiasm for your work. When you discover that the prices of things are too high, you may want to feel that it's more like a far-fetched dream. You may want to start waiting for when you get enough money or enough whatever. But if prices of the materials you're using to sew or be the fashionista that you are or promote fashion in your little community or on a global scale is at a very, very affordable price, you'll be so much encouraged to pursue that dream regardless of any other thing. You see why we say that poverty is as a result of systems we have created. Is not a natural thing. We can either choose to make our people poor or choose to make our people rich. And you also as a person, you can also choose to become poor or choose to become rich. For the medical professional, nutrition is the first line of medicine. The SDGs 2 zero hunger is the preventative cure for diet-related non-communicable or communicable diseases. For the creative artists, culture is preserved through culinary heritage. When we lose the diverse crops, we lose the stories, the colors and textures of our history, literally. For the corporate CEO, food insecurity in your supply chain leads to labor instability and price volatility. A third workforce is a productive workforce. For the engineering students, we need smarter irrigation, storage, and renewable energy powered farms to be more than successful in sustainable food production. For the stay-at-home parents or working parents, this is about your children. Proper or improper nutrition could determine your child's entire future. So let's take a case study. The Better Family Programs, Guatemala. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it rightly. So, as of 2021, Guatemala was the third largest producer in Latin America and the sixth largest exporter of sugar in the world. See, sugar is the second agro-industrial product most exported of Guatemala. The Guatemala sugar agro-industry generates about $700 million in foreign exchange annually and provides more than 55,000 direct jobs and 278,000 indirect jobs in the country. The Guatemala, the agro-sugar industry, recognized that the global goals were failing at the local level due to lack of actionable education. You see the realization we are talking about, whether you're a personnel, you're an organization, intergovernmental organization or non-profit or your personal company, you as a CEO, you need to realize the importance of these goals. And that will lead you to take actions that, whether expectedly or unexpectedly, can change the lives of hundreds, thousands, millions of people around the globe, or even something as simple as your neighbor, your community, or a child somewhere, or a family out there. But for all this to come to pass, you have to realize first. So let's move ahead so that you see why this is a case study for this zero hunger goal. The Guatemala sugar agro industry. What was the problem they saw? High rates of chronic malnutrition and what they call hidden hunger, micronutrient deficiency, in other words, rural sugarcane growing communities. What was the action? They moved beyond just providing food to providing systems. They implemented sugar fortification with vitamin A, a very low-cost technical solution that reached the entire population. Simultaneously, the Better Families program also trained women in food security, hygiene, and self-esteem. What was the data that was gathered or the results? This initiative contributed to a significant reduction in vitamin A deficiency nationwide and empowered over 500,000 women to manage household nutrition. Is this not so wonderful? How did this even start? By a realization that this particular goal is very important. Their target could have been both the zero hunger and the gender equality, that's goal 5, looking at the fact that they had to empower 500,000 women. What is the lesson for you? Or what is the lesson we gained from this case study? They turned a massive target of ending nutrition into a household habit by teaching mothers how to maximize the nutrients in the food they already had. You see, this is why in the Legacy podcast, I always tell you, fulfilling this goal is nearer than you think. It is in your household habit, the daily thing you do every day. And this is what we are going to be looking at now. You don't have to be a big enterprise or a big corporation. If you listen to Legacy 3, where we talked about the new poverty goal, you see ways even a child or a teenager or anyone around the globe that has nothing, literally, can be part of ending the new poverty. So, let's solve your awareness action gap, or in other words, your action paralysis towards this SDGs 2, the zero hunger. Now breathe in. First off, for the first 24 hours, these are household habits or steps you can take now towards having an impact on the zero hunger goal, or towards achieving the zero hunger goal. Move your oldest items in the fridge to the front, so you won't have to waste them later on. Something that can feed someone hungry on the streets or even your nearest neighbor. What am I saying? Go instead of those your oldest items staying at the back of the fridge and ending up spoiling, move them to the front now so that you consume them. And if you feel that you don't feel like consuming them anytime soon and they are still going to spoil anytime soon, please take it off right now from your fridge. Knock in your neighbor's room and ask him or her what they want. Or you go out on the street and give it to people that have no choice but to collect what you have in your hand. From today onwards, you can start to do portion control. Use a smaller plate tonight to ensure zero scrape waste in your food you eat. Freeze it. If you won't eat it today, freeze it. You can then receive a recipe. Find the leftover soup recipe. How to turn some of your leftover soup to become something you can eat again. You can also share a meal. If you cook too much, give a portion to your neighbor. Start to check the source. Look at the origin of your food ingredients. Remember, the zero hunger is still about how secured or safe the food you eat should be. Understand your labels. The best before is about quality. Don't toss away safe food. Look at the date to make sure that you are eating it before the expiring date. And also look at the date before you throw it to make sure that it is not near to the expiring date. You can also store smartly. Research how to store your vegetables or your greens or those food ingredients that spoil easily, so that they don't just waste like that. Donate food to someone today. Donate your resources to someone today. Since we are talking about the zero hunger, donate some foodstuff to an orphanage today. To those your street children today. To your neighbor, that they find it hard to eat this specific kind of food. They are always eating maybe carbohydrates. You don't literally see eating proteinous, or they have said it with their mouth because of don't have the funds or the money. It's not in their budgets. You can choose today to buy them those proteinous food so that they will have to consume it today. You can start to shop with a list. Don't go to the grocery without a plan. Then at the end of the day, you are left feeling unsatisfied about what you bought. Zero hunger is also about your satisfaction in every way possible. You can also choose to start eating vegetables or veggie foods or sourced from local farmers over the packaged or processed ones today in order to promote their own well-being and welfare. For the next 30 days, this should become your household habit or can become your household habit. Remember, where you have heard some of these short-term or immediate 24-hour steps you can take, I'm sure with your brain or your initiative, you already know more 10,000 ways to do this or more 10,000 steps to take. You can literally think it. So most of these steps are all about humanity. Humanity. A conscience for your neighbor, for your friend, or for a stranger. Helping them provide what they don't have. It's just literally about this. So we should stop looking at these goals like something that is only the government. Is it the government that will come down and feed your neighbor? Yes, the government can create systems that will invite that neighbor to have a decent work or be part of the other initiatives or economic growth in one way or the other, whether through empowering them with the quality education or the knowledge they need to know. But I'm letting you know that these are the steps you hearing me right now and more you can start to take in order to end the zero hunger. So that by the time 2030 arrives or even beyond 2030, it will be remembered that the world, most of the world populations at large came work together and there was a significant change. You can't hear anything or you have not been hearing anything about the SDGs. People you that may not have known it before you came in contact with this legacy podcast. Because nobody is doing this household habits. Imagine if 30 million, 50 million people out of 150 million people, let me say in your nation, you guys are 150. 50 million woke up to help another 50 million. Do you think the world will not be a better place, or do you think everyone will remain the same? Even you sitting in your room, you may not open the door and you are part of that help. See why helping each other is very important. Or you trying to fulfill this goal without even looking at your neighbor. Your neighbor can see what you are doing and start taking action right away. This is one of the goals of the Legacy podcast, and it must come to pass. That is why I'm happy that you hearing me right now today. You are actually hearing me right now, so that you can start to take these actions right away. For the next 30 days, this can become your habit. Learn about seasonality. Eat what is growing in your region currently. For example, in my region right now, the season is season for this fruit called odara. There are some seasons for mango fruits. There are some seasons for even oranges. So learn to patronize what is growing in your nation, the season it is at that particular time. You're also part of the people ending zero hunger. Imagine if everyone runs away from what is growing in their nation for that season at that particular time and go ahead eating only processed food and products or imported food. How will even the economy be helped, or even small scale farmers that bringing these foods, or even how will the diversity of that fruit in that region be preserved? If nobody is buying that fruit and it end up wasting. If the tree is in a compound, the owner can decide to cut it down, seeing that at this season if people don't buy it, what's the need of keeping it? So these steps, as little as they seem, or as small as you seem to be hearing them, are so much very important. You can start your own farm at your backyard or a small garden, to promote the zero hunger, feeding yourself, your family, your community, neighbors, or even move it up to a nationwide um, enterprise, so a large or global scale. You can visit local farmers today and ask them about their most important needs, whether related to the work they are doing or their family, and sort out that one need. That will save them a lot, a lot of stress, a lot of money, hard work that they would have put into to gain the necessary resources to fulfill that. You can actually show concern and ask the local cave what they do with the end of the day food remains. Do they waste it or do they utilize it in other ways for the next day or give it out to the nearest community? And if they are not doing any good justice to it, you can volunteer to start doing justice to them by gathering them, packing them, packaging them, and giving it to the nearest community or streets of people that may not be able to afford it. You can sign a petition for urban farming zoning in your community. Teach a child where tomato comes from, for example, not just from the store, but the education behind agriculture, which is literally in charge of food production globally. You can support your local community farmers, as I've said, or someone you know that owns a garden or a small scale farm. Educate yourself on the dimensions of food security. You can also propose a zero waste catering policy for your office if you have a business or a company, um, so that whatever is being used in the office that is seen as waste or trash can be utilized in another way, so to say. You can also, for teachers, you can create a lesson plan um, on the importance of agriculture, food security in the nation, for this zero hunger, sustainable development goals, importance of achieving them. Students, you can come together, start a farm together with your colleagues or mates. You actually don't need to be a farmer to own a farm, but to support food security. These are ways that can do justice to make sure that no one is hungry near you. Talk more of when all together we are doing it as one people, as one nation. The world will definitely be a better place to stay. If you're an investor, you can look into agri-tech startups, ways to increase production, or technology that can increase farm productivity in various ways and in various aspects of farming, whether crop production, soil science, animal science, animal production, or even forestry and wildlife sustenance. So many other aspects that you can look into to create advanced tech that will make it much easier. You can, if You can start to offer healthy local snacks in your break room, your boardroom or your team that you're managing. Parents, ensure your school's cafeteria uses local suppliers. And yes, that can actually show concern when you become one yourself. You can start advocating for electric vehicles to be used in food transportation. Researchers study local indigenous crops that are drought resistant. Writers, you can start to write about the intersection of food and culture. Someone out there needs articles like this about global food security, or even you can start to write it about, like, write it as a chat and send it to your WhatsApp contacts. Let people get those top-notch knowledge in just plain text. Who knows how their interests can be captured and what they will decide to do with that information from that day onwards, a local scale or a global scale. Influencers, use your platform to highlight local farmers or food security, sustainable development goals, zero hunger, so that more people will know about it. For your long-term impact towards the zero hunger goal, you can invest in solar-powered irrigation for a small farm. Give into that small-scale farm or community farm without zero profits. Or you can actually invest and be getting just a little portion of their profits to also sustain your own enterprise. You can support policies that eliminate agricultural export subsidies. You can start to mentor a young person from today onwards entering the agricultural field. You know too much, you have too many knowledge, and you're looking for where to just dispose them or just who to impact. Get a young person, start to educate them, start to teach them. One thing about our young age is that we are actually looking for where to learn from. That's why we go online, search through so many sources. But someone who is old already know where to hit the target point. So you can decide to mentor a young person today and make their journey much, much easier. I'm so sorry, I don't know what is really on my throat or with my voice today, but we must move ahead. You can also start to advocate for universal school meals in your country. Let there be lunch provided by the university or the secondary school, free canteens where students who are hungry can go for the day and eat. You can also vote for representatives in your country or your community with clear food security agenda to fulfill. So don't shun them out, don't look down on them, get to know what they are saying, support their motion, and you will see that if it goes well, you'll be a great benefactor of that. You can also help to build a well or irrigation system in a region where water is scarce. You can also start to do research on the impact of hunger or food insecurity in your region, specific city or community. You can, as a businessman or woman, you can practice circular economy principle in your business. You can sponsor a smallholder farmer via grants or microloans or sponsorship. You can start to educate your community on the risk of only monocropping. You can reduce food loss during transport phase of your business. Yes, get your team together and think of a way to stop the too much wastage when you are transporting your goods to your consumers, or in a especially in a very big bulk or quantity. Whether you a large scale business now, maybe incident like mechanical failure in the car or whatever causes road accidents or stuff like that. So many factors that can contribute to your food wasting and not reaching your products or services not reaching its consumers. You can also work on reducing the cost of healthy diet. Healthy diet, you can work on reducing the cost of that, whether being a farmer yourself or helping other organizations or startups to reduce their cost of production. You can also encourage your city to plant fruit-bearing trees in public parks. You can also facilitate from farm to table partnerships for local restaurants, that is from your farm to the table, or be the middleman between the farmer and the restaurants. Help them so that their goods can be purchased in a large quantity and very much easier to take away from their hand. Also leaving them with a good price money on their hand. You can support the right to food as a legal human right. Right to food is not a privilege, it's a human right. Everyone deserves, anyone around the world, wherever they are, wherever they may be, deserves it. You can also promote vertical farming in high density urban areas, develop a waste energy system for organic waste, also advocates for the protection of genetic diversity in seeds, as we have talked about. You cannot eat only one type of food. You need different varieties of options to choose from. You can commit 1% of your annual income to hunger relief organizations, to non-profits, to foundations, to initiatives that are out there to help provide one or more services for free. Make this a legacy. Commit to practicing yourself and teaching at least 5 people everything you have just learned today. The reason the SAGS feels like someone else's job is that we talk about them in billions of dollars and millions of thoughts. We don't bring it down to the household habit, what someone can do today, or what you can do today, what you can do tomorrow, what you can do for a month's time, what you can do for a week time or in a year time as a consistent habit. This is what the legacy podcast is here to do for you. Making you know this household habit so that you can start to work towards it. Making you understand that the soil in your backyard is connected to the stability of the global market. You stop being a consumer only and start being a steward. A steward, or how did we even put it before, an architect of an abundance, not only a witness to hunger. We all know deep down we don't like hunger. We don't like hunger. We don't like insecurity. But who to work towards it? We are looking at the government, looking at the big enterprise. No, it starts from you. It starts from you. Then they have a very big role to play you have a role to play. The SDGs are as important as the food you eat because they ensure the food you eat on your table. They are the difference between a world of scarcity and conflict and a world of abundance and peace. We can often talk about the Sustainable Development Goals as if they are a giant puzzle being solved in a boardroom in New York or the United Nations headquarters. See, here's the truth. The most important sustainable development happens in your own neighborhood through your household habits. So when you ignore the reality of SDGs 2, that's the zero hunger, you are not just ignoring a global goal, you are ignoring the very fuel that allows you to dream, build, and lead. You cannot code the next great app, design the next fashion revolution, or even lead a family on an empty stomach or a failing planet. Your awareness action gap closes the moment you realize that you are not a bystander in the global food system. You are a shareholder in it. Every time you choose to reduce waste, every time you support a local farmer, and every time you educate someone on the difference between fed and nourished, you are voting for the world you want to live in. That prosperous world, that peaceful world, that zero hunger world. You now have your knowledge, you know your role. Now go out and do your action. These SDGs 2, zero hunger, it represents the legacy of your survival. I'm sure you also won't want a world where you or anyone don't just starve, but a world where you and anyone have the nutritional foundation to reach your highest potential, whether academically, financially, mentally, emotionally, business-wise, or fashion-wise. This can be your legacy. Now get to work. Stay connected to the Legacy Podcast TLP.